Hey folks, thought I'd put together a video today on cutting a nut slot. I've been doing a lot of videos on Telecasters recently, and I'm about done with those, but a couple of those feature slotting of the nut because I've got these brand new fender necks, and I want to show you that process up close. I'm going to use some old footage of the Harmony Discovery project, and I'm not going to make you go back and find this stuff buried in these series that I do. So this is going to be a quick tip on nut slotting, so let's get started. Before I roll the clip today, I just wanted to make sure that you could see the tools that I was using up close. These are a set of gauged nut files that come in various micro gauges, but I actually have them all the way up in the base sizes too. So I think I picked these up on eBay many years ago, but I'm sure you can find them in other places. And there's other styles of nut files if you prefer, but these are what I'm going to use today.
I've got a set, and I try to use the one that's just a little bit bigger, a few thousandths to maybe 6 thousandths bigger than the strings that I'm using, because you don't always think you're going to use the same gauge strings over the lifetime of a guitar, and I like the nut to last a little while. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to detune, set my string aside. I've already measured this out, so what I do is I'll measure the space under the first fret with a feeler gauge and try to get an idea of how far off the fret the string is. I'm shooting for 20 thousandths here. Usually what I'll do is go 20 thousandths on the bass side or the wound strings, and maybe 18 on the treble side. I know that this one's quite high already, and I usually start on the bass side because it cuts more slowly. When you're cutting these, you want to cut down towards the tuner, and if there's an angle to the strings like there is on this high string, you want to try to sort of finish the slot out so that it moves toward that angle. That will help the string slide in that slot a little bit better if you're doing tremolo work or bends or things like that. This is a bone nut, so this nut will last longer than a plastic counterpart. So this takes several passes. I'm usually a lot more aggressive in the beginning than I am towards the end. So you'll see me sawing away here. That's not typical. I just have a really tall slot here. So what I've done, I've gotten a 24 and a 20 out. I'm just trying to get to the 24 so that I sneak up on this a little bit. I'm still above the 24. My 24 feeler gauge is really close, so I'm going to take it a little bit easier. Well, I've been at this a while. I've snuck up on that perfect 20 thousandths. Basically, I started going a lot slower toward the end, and I went down from a 24 feeler gauge all the way down through 23, 22, 21, and finally 20. So, right now, this 20 just barely drags that string, and that's exactly what I want. You just basically have to repeat the process all the way down from the 6th string to the 1st, and you want to do the same thing, move the string out of the way, file it, put it back in, tune it up, check it, detune it, file it, you know, rinse and repeat. It's a time-consuming process. I won't show the whole thing, but the only thing I will say is as you go down from the 6th string to the 1st, these files get a lot thinner and they cut a lot faster. So these tiny ones like this, just, even though that's a bone nut, it'll just melt through it. Remember, as you're doing this, you want to check your action at the 12th fret so that it's somewhere in the ballpark of where you want it to be, because you don't want to cut this too deep. I'll give you one more tip, which is just if you want to save some time as you're detuning and tuning, count the number of turns you took in and out of your tuner as you do it. And that way, if I take 3 or 4 turns out of this and then set my string aside, put it back in, I put the same number of turns back in it. It's just a lot faster that way.
So I showed you the process of slotting the low E string in the videos that I showed you today. The process is the same as you go on up. Just make sure that when you cut with these smaller files that you go a lot slower, because they cut faster and you don't want to go too deep. This nut was done with exactly the same process. I have not shaped this nut, but that is just a matter of using a file to take off the sharp edges on the corners and reducing the height if that's your desire. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. Thank you all for subscribing, liking the videos, and commenting, and I'll see you guys next time.